ball getting up from not that short a length really, but the one that Marlon Samuels got out to must have behaved in some strange fashion. It's difficult to tell with a tail ender, and the lack of ability with the bat, but certainly Samuels got one that misbehaved.
And that one barely carrying through to A.B. de Villiers.
You mentioned Marlon Samuels dismissals, jackers, and bit of invariable bounce. I think Marlon trying to turn this one onto the leg side and possibly board with it bouncing board, just striking high up on the bat.
Game, set, and match. Sheldon Cottrell goes, and Dale Steyn finishes with a 6-wicket haul, back to his best rhythm. And Hashim Amla and his men, #1 team in the world, have proved their superiority here at Super Sport Park. Win this test match quite easily. Kemar Roach will not bat, and it's a huge margin of 220 runs.
Yeah, and an innings. It's an emphatic victory put into bat by the West Indies. South Africa had a little bit of work to do, certainly on day one, a little bit of freshness in the pitch, and they got through that. They're in trouble at 57 for 3. A brilliant stand between Amla and de Villiers, a record-breaking one. As we look at the final wicket, the fall, caught at mid-on by a lad who thought he might have got a bowl in the second innings, and he didn't get to turn his arm over, not today anyway. Steyn bowled throughout the morning and has given the visitors a great deal to think about before the Boxing Day Test match. There's a lot of work got to be done.
Dale Steyn sensational this morning with a spell of 6 for 34, and the two outstanding bowlers in this match for South Africa, Philander and Dale Steyn, not quite hitting his length in the first innings and his first spell of the first innings. Philander, and then being able to adjust and quickly find his rhythm, and the same with Dale Steyn, not quite hitting his areas in the first innings and being able to adjust quickly and be right on the money in the second innings. And that's going to be the test for the West Indies going forward. When South Africa's playing at their best, they will have to have something to at least survive or counter.
Absolutely, and we can forget A.B. de Villiers' catch this morning to dismiss Dinesh Ramdin. Thanks for the innings, Robin Jackman. Left that out. Innings and 220 runs. Such a dominant performance by South Africa, turning up the heat. Dale Steyn on this fourth morning. You can't dispute the fact that that 100 from A.B. de Villiers, that double 100 from Hashim Amla when they came together, 70 odd for 3, or 50 odd for 3. I think wickets fell quite quickly, 3 of them, and they just got into their workload and dominated the bowling.
Yeah, we mustn't overlook either the maiden century, if you like, the century for the debutant, Stian van Zyl, who played beautifully for his 100. Took a little bit of time to get going, as you will do playing in your first test match, but no doubt we'll see a lot more of him. And as we look at the match summary, 552 for 5, 201 and 131. Basically game over virtually in 3 days, because we lost the whole of the session to rain a couple of days ago. So a 3-day victory, and as I said earlier, an awful lot for the West Indies to dwell on.
Well, something that they could learn from possibly the opposition is that Hashim Amla not quite as fluent as he can be at first 57 for 3 coming to the crease, and at times looked like he was struggling, and quite a few of the West Indies batsmen getting in and not maybe willing or being prepared to work to that period where things are not flowing as easily as they would like.
So South Africa confirmation winning by an innings and 220 runs. Kemar Roach not batting in any of the innings. Dale Steyn flying 6 for 34 this morning. What a performance. We'll take a break and come back with much more. Sunshine here at Supersport Park as we welcome you back. Test match has been concluded. The West Indies dismissed for 131. 39 to John Cerny. Stuck it out before he received a beauty from Dale Steyn this morning. Shivnarine Chandapol got a snorter as well. He's fallen to the short ball quite often in recent times, and no one else really standing up here with the bat for the West Indies.
So we look at the wickets that have fallen. This was last night, and an inside edge and onto the pad, and a good catch by Bavuma coming in from backward point there. Has a lot of ground to cover. He's fielded very well, this young fella. And then a fantastic catch from Peterson at the second attempt. Really was. Got two hands to it to start with. Then fell over and caught it on the way down. Now this morning, Dale Steyn bowled for an hour and a half and bowled quite brilliantly.
Sensational spell this morning from Dale Steyn. That's his first one. Just going, angling across the left-hander. And then that bouncer has been mentioned, Chandapur, having been dismissed in a similar fashion already. And the South Africans would have planned that dismissal as well. And for Dale Steyn to get one on target was a great delivery. Slightly lower bounce there. Chandapur would have expected that possibly to go over the top. Steyn again. Little bit of indifferent bounce again for Marlon Samuel's dismissal, and whilst we hadn't seen that much indifferent bounce, certainly this morning I felt one or two dismissals was affected by the bounce of the pitch.
How's this for a catch? Absolutely brilliant. De Villiers not been doing a great deal of keeping, I wouldn't think, lately, with Quinton de Kock pretty settled in that position, but the injury to his ankle means that De Villiers has to put the gloves on, and he didn't let anybody down. This is another very fine catch. The South African fielding throughout this test match has been superb.
Absolutely good field placing as well. Was on here when we were discussing getting a man under the helmet. Sean Pollock suggested it be behind square. So said, so done. And then the slip cordon, who were on red alert all through the morning session. One still staying at the ball in his hand, Jerome Taylor, nicking one to Hashim Amla, and he's caught well. And the end of the match, Sheldon Cottrell spooning one to give Steyn his 6th wicket, 6 for 34 in the innings for Dale Steyn. Innings and a 220 runs victory. The Ashwell Prince, Dale Steyn, after the little injury yesterday, came to life.
Absolutely sensational this morning. Dale Steyn had a nice little rub down to get loosened up. 6 for 34. Moene Moko 2 for 43. Philander 1 for 6, and well bowled by the South African bowling lineup.
To Mike Hazeman now for the presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the post-match presentation. Before we chat to the skippers and also introduce the dignitaries, need to thank Sunfoil for their support for this test series. Okay, the dignitaries alongside me, a couple of them there. Nasipo Taibeka Makeki, who's the MMC for Sport and Recreation for the City of Swanee, and she is here on behalf of the Executive Mayor. Welcome. And also Kasim Dokrat, who's the Sponsorship Manager from the Willowton Group. Welcome, Cass. If I can please ask Dinesh Ramden to come forward. Dinesh, I know you're bitterly disappointed. I want to go back to the start of this test match, winning the toss, and yes, on a willing track, inviting South Africa to bat. It's so important to set the tone first up, I suppose, and the guys just didn't quite get it right.
Yeah, we did that by taking the new ball up front. We got 3 early wickets, but Hashim Amla and AB de Villiers, they played fantastically well. Having said that, we didn't bowl the areas that we wanted to, making them come on the front foot and give our slip cordon some more chances, but they batted really well. I think on the first innings, when we batted, we showed some signs of partnerships together. Guys getting starts, but didn't carry on. I think that was most important, our first innings.
Okay, now looking at the South African side, I mean, you knew you were up against a serious side. They're number 1. By the way, have now confirmed they're going to stay number 1 after this test series. I mean, how good are they in the side you've played against of late?
Yeah, they're a fantastic team. I'm number 1 in the world. It's always difficult to come here and beat them in the backyard, the bowling lineup, the batting department. It takes a lot of character for us to give them some good fight. Hopefully we can take some positive out of this game and do something special in the other game.
Now you've got another issue, of course, with Kemar Roach. What's the latest on him? Do you think he's going to be okay for the second test?
Yeah, hopefully within a day or so we'll have a word on him, if he's going home or if he's staying here. And hopefully for the best results, we get him for the last test match.
And finally, just what do you think, looking back at it now, was the big difference between these two teams?
Yeah, I think guys were getting starts. We didn't get starts. We got starts, but we didn't carry on. The century by AB de Villiers and Hashim Amla took it away from us. And as I said before, we got starts, but we didn't have that big partnership, the 100-run partnership or anything like that. So we need to work on that, and hopefully in our next game, we can build from it and move on as a team.
Dinesh, thanks for your time. We'll see you in Port Elizabeth. Dennis Randall, of course, disappointed captain of the West Indies side in this first Test match. I'd now like to ask the winning skipper to come and have a chat to me, Hashim Amla. But Hashim, on the way, you've got to pick up a couple of checks. You've also picking up the check as the man of the match for your magnificent 208, 23rd Test 100, your third double 100. So you've got the winning check, and also you can take that the man of the match check from Kasim, and also the man of the match trophy as well, and come and have a chat. Hash, you've got to be absolutely delighted with that professional performance.
Yeah, very much so. We didn't expect it to finish so early, but you know, Dell really bowled exceptionally well to get us started, and the wicket got quite difficult to bat on, so I think we're really happy.
How were you feeling up in the change room, and then of course soon after out of the middle, when suddenly 3 wickets went down at 57 at the start of this game?
Well, we knew, as I said, if we had won the toss, we were probably going to bowl first. We knew it was going to be quite difficult. 50 odd for 3 was a tough situation to get into. But thankfully, myself and Dale got a partnership going, and I think his runs in the first innings was probably the most vital. I just thought the wicket got a bit more difficult to bat. But exceptionally happy. Guys bowled exceptionally well. You know, Vernon, the way he started, I think throughout the whole game, he bowled with extreme skill and precision, and really credit to him. Morne and Abbo, and finally Dell, you know, really came up and cleaned up.
It seemed like Dale was a bit upset that he wasn't in that wickets column in the first innings.
Well, it's not often you see that. But you know, it wasn't too, we all knew it wasn't too long before he gets on there, and he gets on there with a big note. You know, he's a wonderful bowler, and today he showed his class.
And we also need to touch on AB de Villiers. I mean, a 308 stand between yourself and AB. That was spectacular.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, batting with AB is a bit easy. As I said, I'll try and get one and get him on strike, and he usually entertains everybody. But you know, fortunately, we got a good partnership going. It was a tough situation, and you know, the West Indies lost their Kima Roach, got injured, so it kind of made it a little bit easier to bat. There were periods where we scored freely, and I think that, you know, was really vital in setting the game.
Now, you had a bit of juggling to do as captain, a couple of injuries around the place. I mean, you're so fortunate, I guess, and it's bad news about Quinton de Kock out for the series, but you're so fortunate that you had someone who could step up and take those gloves easily.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw the catch that AB took today. Stunning catch. You know, having him in the team is a great blessing. He's a wonderful fielder. He bowls a bit these days as well. He's an exceptional batter, and certainly our spare keeper. And today he showed his class with the gloves on. The injuries was a difficult one to juggle. Losing Quinny, I mean, it's never nice to lose a teammate, somebody who's part of your family actually. And a few other guys. Foff was down with a fire, so it was an eventful Test match. But thankfully, we've got a few days to recover before the next one.
And just finally, to focus on AB de Villiers and Dale Steyn again, it's not a bad way to celebrate 10 years of service from those two.
Certainly. 10 years they've been doing this day in and day out. You know, credit's got to go to the amount of hard work. I mean, not many people see the efforts they put in the nets, behind the scenes, all that kind of things, and they're exceptionally gifted cricketers, and they're doing justice to their talent.
Skipper, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Terrific stuff. South Africa 1-0 up in the 3-Test series. It's so important, of course, to win the first in a short series. South Africa have done that comfortably. You have to wait and see how the West Indies bounce back for that second Test match. That concludes the presentation.
So under bright skies here at Supersport Park, just confirmation of the progress and the summary of this match. South Africa declaring at 552, double 100 to Amla. West Indies folding for 201 in their first innings after a decent start, and then dismissed for 131 in their second innings. Dale Steyn 6 for 34. Made up for all the absence of wickets in the first innings, and South Africa winning by an innings and 220 runs, leading 1-0 in this 3-match series. That's all we have from Supersport Park. Hope to have the pleasure of your company next time.
Got him. Brilliant from Steyn. He did it a couple of times past the outside edge.
Is it gone? Is it gone? Is it gone? Finger goes up belatedly. Brilliant. What a masterful piece of acrobatics behind the stumps.
There's another one. Amla. Amla has taken that one. There's a 5-wicket haul. 25th 5-wicket haul for Dale Steyn.
Hello and welcome. It's a lovely Super Sport Park that you're looking at, and wonderful pictures. Wonderful day, it certainly was. And this is a look at the summary of that first Sunfoil Test match. South Africa were inserted after the West Indies won the toss on day number 1 and decided that they would bowl first. They got them to 57 for 3, but in the end, Hashim Amla and AB de Villiers putting on 308, and also a century from Stian van Zyl, allowing them to get to 552 for 5 declared. The West Indies started up okay, 75 for the first wicket, Smith and Brathwaite, but fell away drastically. 201 all out, asked to follow on, and then capitulated even further. West Indies 131 all out in their second innings, following on with Dale Steyn getting a whole lot of wickets, 6 for him. Welcome to a wrap of what's gone on in Test match number 1 between the West Indies and South Africa. There'll be 2 more Test matches, we'll get to that, but a couple of men alongside here, Kepler Wessels and Mikey Holding, to first of all, let's go right to the beginning, Kepler. To say that we would have expected South Africa would win would be correct, but to say that they would have won in this way, going back to that toss on day 1, we wouldn't say that, would we?
Well, possibly not, but I think if you're realistic and you look where the two teams are at present, you've got the one that's ranked number 1 in the world, you've got the number 1 that's ranked number 8 in the world, and you got the one ranked 1 playing on home soil, conditions that suit South Africa very well. You'd expect them to win whatever happened at the toss, and you'd expect them at this ground in particular to win convincingly.
Having said all that, Mikey, where are you in terms of missed opportunities with regard to the West Indies winning the toss, bowling, and getting the opposition 3-1, 3 down quite early?
Yeah, missed opportunities were there. You know, there were 57 for 3 South Africa in the first innings, and you would have thought that from that position, the West Indies would have been able to restrict South Africa to less than 300 runs, even if they had a recovery. You don't expect to just walk right through the batting lineup because there's a fair amount of batting there. But at that position, you would have thought, okay, this is a good start for the West Indies. Get some more wickets, get into the lower order, restrict them to less than 300 runs. And from that position, you have a chance. You can fight from that position. Eventually, with the missed opportunities, run out, dropped catches, that sort of a thing, they fell too far behind the game. When South Africa got over 500 runs, you knew it was just a matter of time. In fact, I made reference to an interview that was done with Manuel Samuels, the way he was talking about the fact that, oh, we'll just have to wait and see how long South Africa bat now and when they declare, when they should have been thinking about winning the game, bowling South Africa out. You know, that was furthermost from their minds.
Talk about the way that they bowled, and many will look back at the Test match and say, oh, it was a real pity that Kemar Roach actually went out of the bowling attack at the time that he did, but he was the one bowler who showed that he can get it in good areas and apply pressure.
Yeah, he bowled well for the short period of time that he was on the field. You know, I'm not too sure, we discussed this as well, why he wasn't given a new ball. He should have been given a new ball. He's the most experienced of the bowlers. He has been playing a lot in recent times. Jerome Taylor is coming back from injury, although he is also coming back from an injury with his shoulder. But he has proven himself. Sheldon Cottrell has done well at the lower levels. This is now Test match cricket. You have to step up when you get to Test match cricket, and I'm not too sure why they thought, having only played 1 Test match, that he should have been given a new ball. But again, perhaps that's something they'll have to look at in the future. When Kemar Roach then went out of the attack, got injured, you know it was going to be a tough fight after that. Jerome Taylor didn't bowl very well day 1, came back, bowl a little bit better day 2, but you knew it was going to be a hard battle for the West Indies once Kemar Roach was out of the attack.
Especially with the load that seems to, well, it increases, doesn't seem to increase, it actually does increase, and they're not quite going as well as they would like. Okay, Kepler, let's shift over to the South African side, and I'll start off with the opening batsman who got away to a flying start, but the opening batting positions, and I won't say just one because some seem to point at the experienced man who hasn't quite been going in good form, as it were, but not so much the other. But it's a case of both those men needing to cement their spots and provide a good start.
They do. I mean, what happened in this test match was that they occupied the crease for a certain amount of time, which was good when the ball was new after losing the toss. So they did their job in that respect. Yes, but having opened the batting for a long, long time, when you get starts at test level as an opener, that's the time that you got to maximise, because you are going to get knocked over at times against good bowling with the new ball. I think Alvaro Peterson in particular, if you look at the way he's gone over recent times, over a long time in fact, he often gets to 20 or 30 and then gets out. So the best thing that Dean Elgar and Alvaro Peterson can do is, in the remaining 2 test matches, if they do get off to a start, is to maximise, to go on and try and make a big score, bat for a long period, and take away all the doubt that surrounds their positions.
Having said all that about getting starts, Kepler, their surfaces sometimes, and certainly this one was doing quite a bit on day number 1. It was difficult to bat, and you expected it would have been bowler's time. I think it was Ashwell Prince during the test match who said, whilst they got to 30 or 20 odd, as it were, they never really were in, and it was on the cards that if the bowling got better, they could get out, and so could those that follow.
Well, that's a fair comment, because I think in the early stages of the game, particularly during the first session and maybe the first session and a half, it was a sort of surface where you could get a good one at any time. But again, having done it, and although that can happen, when you get through 10 overs, 15 overs, you feel better and you've got a better chance. And that's a time where you've really got to try and pin your ears back as an opening batsman and maximise that opportunity. Because, let's face it, the West Indies, their attack by world standards isn't a great attack. So you would be backing yourself to, if you get starts against them, to try and really convert.
Talk about, Mikey, let's talk about Hashim Amla, and everyone's waxed lyrical about that partnership of 308. It's a good thing, no doubt, if you have those men coming in the middle order. The way that they played and that they shifted pressure, not necessarily that they needed to, but with 3 wickets going down pretty quickly, something had to happen in order to stop the rot. They did it beautifully.
Yeah, I don't think that you could say they shifted pressure immediately, because all they were concentrating on at the time was to make sure that they spend some time at the crease. It's the beginning of a test match. It's 5 days. 3 wickets down, what you need to do is spend time at the crease, wear down the attack, and then you can look to expand your stroke play after that. And that's exactly what they did. Both of them were quite happy to just go, say off whatever bowling that there was, try and spend some time at the crease, and they are class players. Well, we hear the age-old story. The longer you stay at the crease, the easier it becomes. And irrespective of how the pitch is playing, you get accustomed then to what the pitch is doing. It becomes a little bit easier, and then you can get your runs a little bit more easily, because these 2 guys are class batsmen, and they showed exactly how good they are. We made the point that West has missed out on a couple of opportunities. You don't want to give batsmen of that caliber 2 innings in one. When the catches come along, even if they're not easy catches, you don't expect that you should only be taking easy catches at test match level. Test matches, you need to take the difficult chances as well. They dropped catches, they missed run-outs, and of course we saw the end result.
Here's a look at AB de Villiers playing some strokes as a fast-scoring batsman, and in this test match particularly, everything seemed to be fast-scoring. They got out the blocks pretty quickly, and in essence, they bought a lot of time. Not that they needed it, but in the end, so much happened in the first couple of days. Okay, on to the debutant, Kepler, and first of all, let's talk about the absence of Dumini, because then it sort of creates a situation where you've got to try and pick your side and ensure that you still have balance. How important is he when fit, JP Dumini, to this Proteas side, test match side particularly?
Well, it's very important, because in the position that he bats, whether he's batting at 5 or 6, he adds value with his off spinners as well. So we wouldn't even have had the debate, should we play a spinner or should we play 4 quick bowlers? We automatically would have played 4 quick bowlers and had a spinner. So that makes a big difference. He's a very experienced middle-order batsman. He's made runs all over the world. So he's a real asset to the South African side. It doesn't matter what format you're playing. So he is a big loss. But what an opportunity for Steyn van Zyl coming into the side in that position and then batting after AB de Villiers and with Hashim Amla. After they basically took the attack to task, they set the groundwork for him and made it easier for him, if there is ever such a thing as an easy innings in a test match. But he's not going to come in many situations where the situation for him was ideal to perform and to go on and do what he did. And he did well. He did exceptionally well. The issue, of course, will be when JP Dumini comes back, what happens then? Are they going to slot him into that opening role you're talking about, or is he perhaps going to have to wait a bit longer? Who knows? But that's a debate for later on, because after this series, it's a fair while again before we have more test matches.
Yeah, well, I'd like to get a thought from you, Mike, after we hear from Stian van Zyl about young players being integrated into good batting lineups. And I'm talking about good batsmen, because whilst everyone talks about the four-prong attack and the quicks, that batting lineup that you had was quite a good one, and young players came into that and did well later on. Let's hear from Stian van Zyl. Mike Hazeman caught up with him.
Stian, how does that feel? On debut 100 and now in a winning test. It must be a magnificent feeling.
I think it's the best start I could wish for. Getting 100 on debut and then our seamers cleaning up, or Stanky cleaning up this morning. It's a great feeling, and very grateful to be a part of this wonderful team, and hopefully we're looking forward to the next one.
What about the intensity from the South African bowlers? You've experienced a lot of first-class cricket, we know that. You're now in the test arena. Did you notice a big difference?
Yeah, for sure. Standing at gully and at point, you can just see Stanky just running in. You don't get a freebie or something like that out, but and him steaming up 140, bouncing the guys out. It's a different intensity, and it's test match cricket.
One thing that I saw when you got your 100, and I think it just epitomises the South African side, they were so delighted, your teammates, that you got that 100.
Yeah, one thing I noticed when I came to the team is they make you feel so welcome. For me, it feels like I'm a part of this team for years now, and the way Stanky went up and supported my 100 and Vernon and them, it's wonderful to see. And like I say, we're a great team, and we're happy for each and everyone's success.
I'm sure you've spent a bit of time with Quinton de Kock. I guess he's pretty disappointed.
Yeah, Quinny, unfortunately, I heard he's a for a few months maybe with the ankle. But yeah, he'll be missed. But yeah, like I said, we're looking forward to the next one, and we'll see what team comes up. And luckily, we play good cricket again, and we'll come up on top.
A few celebrations tonight. What do you think? You think you can afford a couple of quiet beers on the side?
Yeah, I'm going to have a few now, and then I'm staying over with my parents tonight and with two of my mates. So we're going to have a few.
Good stuff. Enjoy them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. You know how sometimes you get youngsters coming to the side and they're not sure whether it's okay. You know, it's as if they're looking around thinking, where's the headmaster? Is he going to let me? Can I say I'm going to have a few drinks with my teammates? He said straight away, I'm going to have a few. He really should celebrate his 100. And I'm sure there'll be teammates in there who will be happy to have him celebrate as well and celebrate with him. There's a look at centuries on debut in tests for South Africa. Jacques Rudolph, a pretty big one that, in Chittagong in 2003. Andrew Hudson, in that match that you're discussing, kept 163. Said he is blue and black and couldn't walk.
Yeah, he was a bit, I must say, he was, but he played very well. I mean, it was a superb effort by Andrew in that test match in Barbados. Never an easy place to score runs, and he batted beautifully.
Okay, Faf du Plessis, we remember that mammoth innings at Adelaide, and then Stian van Zyl next on the list here at Supersport Park. Alviro Peterson, he started off as well with a century at Calcutta, Eden Gardens, fantastic ground and fantastic place to start off, as it were, especially if it's in a winning call. I can't remember actually if that test match was won. You were batting consultant in that series.
Yeah, the first test match was won in Nagpur, I think, where Delstein bowled beautifully, and unfortunately that one was lost after initially on day one South Africa dominated. He got 100. Hashim had a fantastic test match, got runs in both innings, nearly saved it in the end, but India got up and won and levelled. It was a two-match series.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Go back further in time, not so much to 2010 and that Kolkata match we're talking about, but I said before we heard from Stian there, Mikey, young players coming into your side, not that it changed a great deal, but there was always talent that was coming through and being integrated into a really good batting group.
Not just the batting group, we had some young fast bowlers that were coming in at various stages as well. You know, Malcolm Marshall, when he first came into the team, there were senior people around like Joel Garner, Andy Roberts and myself, Courtney Walsh when he came into the team, and they had gone by then, but they had some other senior players around. It's very important where that is concerned. The batting that you're referring to, and Richard Richardson came into the West Indies team, you still had a lot of senior guys around, the same Desmond Hayes, Gordon Gridge, Pip Richards, that sort of thing. And it's always good when you can have youngsters coming into a successful setup. whether he's a bowler or a batsman. You need him to be coming into a successful setup where there's not a great deal of pressure on him immediately. Not that you want him to fail when he comes in, but if he does fail, there's an opportunity for you to keep him in the team because the team is doing well. If the team isn't doing well and the youngsters come in and fail, there's pressure. The selectors think, oh, we need to make a few changes here. We can't afford for him to carry this youngster because the team isn't doing well. And that is what has been happening with the West Indies team over a long period of time now. Youngsters come into the team, they feel themselves under pressure because the team isn't doing well, they don't do well, and then the selectors feel as if they are under pressure as well to make successful changes. But it's good when you have a successful team. It's a lot easier. The youngsters come in, no pressure, they can go out and get their jobs done.
Stairs now and get differing views, perhaps the same views expressed slightly differently from the rest of our team. Hazy?
Yeah, thanks, Pommy. Yeah, I got HD, I got Sean, and also Big Besh alongside me. Right, boys, we're going to chat about the test and also look forward to Port Elizabeth. What's your main view looking back on this one?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with the West Indies attack. Kemar Roach breaking down is not ideal, but Jerome Taylor wasn't at his best because there was a period in that test match where the West Indies could have had South Africa in enormous trouble at 50 for 3 if they had have strung a few good overs together. Who knows what could have happened. So. And also in parts with the batting, Brathwaite looks like a nice, it looks like he's got some potential, but they need some batsmen who are prepared to bat for long periods of time. The capitulation in the second innings wasn't good.
Did that surprise you, Sean?
It didn't surprise me that they capitulated. You know, for me, I looked at it before the test match started, and I thought, West Indies, do they have the strength to put runs on the board, and do they have a bowling attack that's going to be consistent enough to put South Africa under pressure? When they had them 57 for 3, I thought, oh, you never know, we might have an interesting contest. As commentators, we want to see a nice competitive game. And then when they came out with the bat and 70 without loss, I thought, gee, maybe they'll avoid the follow-on and they'll take South Africa deep. But just the way they sort of fell over in the end. Yes, I mean, this last spell from Dale Steyn on the last day was superb. I mean, he hadn't picked up a wicket. He's struggling with a tight groin. He's back, he picks up 6 wickets, shows why he's the Rolls Royce of international fast bowling. We're too strong. I just feel South Africa too strong, and that's what I thought before the series started. This was just confirmation for me, and now the fact that the injury to Roach, their bowling lineup's going to be really weak for the next game.
And Bish, I mean, Dale Steyn this morning, I mean, he said that he wasn't happy with the fact he wasn't in that wickets column, but gee, he fired up today.
Well, I have never seen a guy do what Dale Steyn has done here, in the sense that he went off yesterday and he said it was cramp. We didn't know the severity of it. And in the first innings, you could see he was a little undercooked. He wasn't hitting the crease as I thought Dale Steyn would, and we've seen it. But this morning, he just seemed to shift into overdrive. I mean, the way he attacked the crease, the seam, the swing that he managed to get out of the conditions. And it's just an amazing career for me, Hazy. And this morning he showed me why he has so many wickets and so many 5-wicket hauls. The West Indies can't stand up to that. Not this batting group in these conditions.
25 5-wicket hauls now. There's a look at the leading wicket takers for South Africa. Sean on top with 421. Mackay Ntini just one above Dale Steyn now. So Steyn is also getting close to that 400 mark. He's going to join you shortly, I think, Sean. And Alan Donald, of course, he's. I love this relationship between Alan Donald and also Dale Steyn, Sean. I know you've spoken to the guys about it. The way that they work so closely together, and Dale really relishes the advice that the AD gives him.
Yeah, first of all, he's got me covered. Don't you worry about me. He's cleaning me up good and proper. Those are the lists that he's got to start worrying about. Getting most 5 wickets and trying to catch people like Shane Warne and Wilson. But he's been superb, and I think having Alan Donald there, who's been there, done it over the years, it's always good just to have a little bit of advice. You know, sometimes as a bowler, you've got all the ideas in your head, but they just don't come to the forefront of your mind when you're out there performing. Someone who's been there watching on the side says, what about trying that, Dale? And it goes, oh, that clicks, and all of a sudden he produces. So.
What about that, actually? Most 5-wicket hauls, brilliant.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, I can't believe that if we go back 10 years, it is 10 years since he started.
Exactly.
When Alan Donald retired, there was this concern amongst the South African public. What are we going to do now? The great white lightning has called it a day. But it's as if there's just this conveyor belt, you know. And, well, hopefully the conveyor belt will go beyond Dale Steyn. But when he arrived, I don't think we could ever have imagined that it would turn out to be like this. And it's been a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, terrific stuff. Okay, I actually caught up with him a little while ago. Let's hear what Dale Steyn had to say about his performance. Dale, congratulations, 6 for 34. You look like you meant some serious business this morning.
Yeah, thanks, AZ. Yeah, the ball came out swinging. I thought the wicket quickened up a little bit overnight, whereas in the yesterday it was a bit slow off the deck. You know, there was a lot of balls that when you pitch them up tend to hit the top of the bat, and batters had enough time to adjust. Whereas today it just like quickened up a little bit and found the edge. So yeah, I'll take it.
We were saying as commentators, I mean, it's so rare that Dale Steyn doesn't seriously influence a test match. 25 5-wicket hauls now, that's brilliant.
I've lost count. I don't count, to be honest with you.
You've lost count. Yeah.
No, well, I don't really take count. But look, I love playing at this ground. I love taking wickets. After not taking a wicket in the first innings and yesterday, and then getting a bit of cramp late in the day, I said to my mates last night, I said, okay, the Tigers coming out firing today. I got to get a couple of wickets. So I think when I got the first one or two, you kind of force the batsman to play a little bit more. Again, I was just lucky. You know, yesterday some of them go past the edge. Today you find the edge.
Well, that's one of the things about this South African side. Once you get a situation where one of the guys has a problem, someone else steps up. I mean, Vernon Philander was magnificent in that first innings.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yesterday he hit his straps, found the right length to bowl from, and oddly enough, we picked all the wickets up from his side yesterday. The day before, the wickets all fell from the end that I was bowling from, and then the other way today, you know. So, and again, he bowled well this morning, went past Marlon Samuel's bat a ton of times. I mean, it could very well, or very easily have been him who found the edge, and then you just get that momentum and you just keep going. And yesterday was his day, and today was mine.
Now, were you surprised at all, or did you sort of expect that they would capitulate if you put that sort of pressure on them?
I think we kind of knew it. I think we always felt like if we could get a couple early wickets and really get into them, they might fall apart a little bit. I think they've had a little bit of issues coming into the series and everything, and I think Dinesh has had a hard time to try and rally these troops together, and I said that before the game, and they could be a very dangerous side, and I still think they are a very dangerous side. I mean, Marlon's a great batsman, Shiver's a great batsman, they've got some fantastic players in there. But on a wicket like this, where it was just doing a little bit, if you can get the ball in the right areas, I think any team is in trouble, not just them. And I think we were able to do that more consistently than their bowlers.
You know, Dale, if only you could find a couple of blokes who could bat in your side.
Some of them can't they? Jeez, De Villiers is one of the best batters I've seen in my life, you know. And I mean, that's just coming from my opinion. Who am I? But I mean, Hashim, the guy, he's just consistent ever, doesn't have a bead of sweat on him. So patient, is happy to bat out there for days. Fantastic player, and we've got some other great stroke players in our side too. Just a fantastic team to be a part of.
Congratulations, well played. I'm sure we'll see more of this in this series.
Yeah, thanks, Hazy. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing stuff from Dale Steyn. Just going to have a look now at the best figures at this ground for Steyn. I mean, gee, Sean, he loves this venue.
Yeah, when you've grown up at a venue and you know the lengths that you need to bowl, you enjoy coming back here to play Test cricket, and he's done superbly well. I mean, look at that. Every time he rocks up, he basically picks up some sticks and gets the team on top.
So South Africa picked up 8 wickets for 55 runs today. I want to chat Bish and Sean about Vernon Philander. I mean, Vernon in that first innings, Bish, 90 deliveries, 75 of them dot balls.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he got better in his later spells. Yes, he did get a wicket in the first spell before lunch, but I thought the process of his bowling after lunch, which was fuller in these conditions here where the ball was nipping a bit. Vernon Philander is at his best when he pitches the ball up like this to Chandapol, getting him trapped on the crease, and to Blackwood. Sometimes I think his stock length is just back of a length, and maybe when the pitch is flat, that can dry up runs. But when the pitch is doing a bit like this, those deliveries to Brathwaite, to Chandapol, and to Blackwood, I want to see a higher percentage of Philander's deliveries. And he's a class bowler. I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying how he can move to another level, and he's already at a high level.
Well, Sean, your accuracy was terrific when you were playing. I mean, how do you learn that? I'm sure we've got some of the viewers here. Why is he so good?
I think it's just a mindset. You don't like going for runs, and you don't want to get anything too full that you get punished, or anything too loose. But I think with Vernon, what's happened now is also used to just have a test length because he only played test cricket. Now he's gone to one-day cricket and played some T20 stuff as well. And coming into this series, he's coming off one-day cricket. So he was just back of a length for that first spell, as Bush mentioned. As the game went on, he started to find the Vernon Philander test length that's been so successful, had him averaging under 20 for such a long period of time. Once he got that, it was superb.
I just wanted to ask Sean. Now, Sean assessed that, and I'm wondering now, Alan Donald will probably know that same thing and prepare Vernon differently coming into a test series, net practices and stuff?
Well, he might. I think they will encourage them, but it's like you can lead a horse to water, but until they actually go out there and experience that their length isn't working, then the penny doesn't drop. So I'm sure Alan would have said to the guys, listen, we've watched them bowl, this is the length we need to be on. But they were a little bit out of their area to start. Their grouping was good. I remember having a look at the pitch map, and the grouping was superb. But it was just at half a metre too short. And once they got it up fuller, after they had got 70 on the board already, all of a sudden they wrapped things up.
And HD, he's got one area where he really has to improve.
Vernon?
Yes.
What's that?
Reviews?
Diabolical. I'm sure that the management will sit him down and say, look, we're going to leave it up to the captain and maybe the wicketkeeper to make those decisions, because your follow-through seems to include this every ball.
Hey, let's look towards the next test match. I mean, for starters, what are you expecting from a surface, and what do you think there will be any changes?
Yeah, look, the surface that South Africa played New Zealand on and Australia was quite a good one in Port Elizabeth a few years ago. The ball did reverse swing. I was saying on air that because of the overhead conditions, the wind can pick up quite significantly in Port Elizabeth, and it can dry the whole square out. So fieldsmen can utilize that in order to try and get the ball to reverse swing. The funny thing about PE is that you arrive at the ground and it's blue sky, but the wind is blowing in a particular direction, and captains actually bowl first because it can swing around corners there. But I think it might be a surface that's better suited to the West Indians if it is your traditional Port Elizabeth wicket.
And Bish, what about the fact that they were so outplayed in this test match? I mean, how's that going to reflect on the second test?
I think they have to be strong. If I was in that dressing room, Mike, what I would say to the guys is, hello, this is the #1 team in the world. We are coming to their place, and Graham Smith again said, hardest place to bat. We're number 8. So I'm coming in here and I'm saying, guys, we know that we need to get better in every aspect in world cricket. So let us take as many things. Let us be better. If we go to PE and the wicket is, as HG says, if it's a little bit flatter, I think some of these guys can stick in. Chandapal will stick in, Marlon Samuels will stick in, and maybe Brathwaite. So I expect to see a better performance. Every defeat I want to learn from. I don't think the batting is very strong against these. The bowling, though, I was disappointed with Jerome Taylor. I think he's better than that. My issue is that Kemar Roach may not take any further part in the Test series. And if you don't have a leader of your attack out there, it becomes so much more difficult if Jerome Taylor doesn't pick up his game and lead this attack.
I don't think the West Indies can turn it around. But for me, what they have to do is try and create a little bit more depth in both departments. I'd get Holder in, I'd make a phone call, get Dwayne Bravo to fly in, and I'd have 2 all-rounders who can bat to bowl me some overs as well. I think that's the only way they can compete.
You would have been involved in many sort of discussions when you were captain of South Africa, and of course playing for South Africa, where a side has been totally outplayed in one test match on a surface that perhaps wasn't doing a great deal, maybe a little bit more today than the other days. But wouldn't you be tempted now for the next test match to make sure that it's a willing track in Port Elizabeth?
Definitely. I mean, I would hope that there's something in it, and I would be very keen to bowl first. Their batting's been poor, they've been bowled out cheaply twice. You put the pressure straight on them once again. You get the surface that helps you as a bowling unit, and we've got the bowlers to back up whatever surface we produce. We've got the batsmen who are better equipped to deal technically with anything that they have to on a surface that's doing a bit as well. There's our strength. So you give them, I mean, with coming into the World Cup and that, the less time they're spending on the field, the better. So give them conditions that help them.
And Bish has touched on maybe Kemar Roach not being fit for the next one. I mean, Quinton de Kock, he'd be disappointed, but gee, what a fill-in.
Yeah, well, AB de Villiers is the perfect guy to come in for Quinton de Kock. It's going to be interesting to see what South Africa go with in the next test match. Do they say to AB, look, you carry on keeping, or do they choose the next best keeper in domestic cricket and he comes in? The other thing is Robin Peterson. I would think that Robin Peterson comes into the test match, and I'll go out on a limb, Hazy. I wouldn't be surprised if South Africa stay with de Villiers, don't pick an extra batsman, leave the 4-seamers and have Robin Peterson just come into the side. It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. We've got to talk about Steyn van Zyl. I mean, Steyn was just magnificent, Bish, on debut.
The great thing about it, Dave, was I remember a conversation taking place about him having to sit there and wait with his pads on to come in, and I'm thinking to myself, if I were a batsman, I'd be happier with that than having to come in at 60 for 4 on my test match debut. And I just think it's a dream to come in with 300 and more on the board. So what I saw is a guy, HD Phil, being a guy who, when he gets a start, he can kick on, he looked good at the crease. He was initially nervous, doesn't have a big stride, but knows his limitations. But the stride is something I, as a bowler, can work with. But I was quite glad he did not miss out on the opportunity that was presented to him with that platform, and he came Kenyan.
Okay, Bish, thanks so much for your views, Sean as well, and also HD. It certainly was a commanding performance by South Africa, and I think we're all expecting pretty much the same to come around in Port Elizabeth on Boxing Day, which isn't too far away. Have to wait and see what happens with a couple of injuries, but in this test match, South Africa were absolutely superb. Pommy, back upstairs to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, 6 days. They bought themselves some time, actually, and the game ending quite early, more than a day and a half to go in this test match. Okay, those are the views of the boys downstairs out on the field. Now let's go to the commentary box. There are a few others in our team. You're not forgotten, Jackers, and you're not forgotten, Ashwell. Your thoughts on what's gone on in this test match?
Well, now that 8 of you have had a go at it, we just as well talk about the umpiring. What did you reckon, Ash? What do you think of the 2 umpires? Did they have a good game?
I thought they had a good game, not too much controversy out there, and they handled it quite well.
Yeah, I think the one thing that came up right at the end there that is unanswered, and I'll just run it past you, Ashwell, is if South Africa stick with AB as the keeper, then there's a slot at number 7 for either an all-rounder or a genuine batsman. We are going to assume that Robbie Peterson will come into the 11 at probably the expense of Kyle Abbott, provided everyone's fit. So what would you think of doing with that number 7, that extra slot there?
Well, if you look inside the squad, obviously, which would be the first place to look at, you have a batsman in Temba Bavuma who's in the squad, so you would think the next batsman in line would be Bavuma, and coming into the batting lineup, possibly in the middle order, you would expect him to be in a leading position to get the nod for the next test match. So South Africa might feel that they might want to have 4 seamers again and Robin Peterson. So it's going to be up to the selectors to make that call.
That'd be Peterson batting at 7 then, you reckon?
Well, it would be a little bit high if you're facing one of the better test match bowling lineups in the world. But having seen how South Africa has gone in this test match, you'd like to think that Peterson could possibly do that job. That will give you 4 seam bowlers and a spinner. But also, if we're going to go for an out-and-out batsman, obviously it would be nice to see Bavuma get his test debut.
I guess Robbie P at 7 and Vernon at 8 is not the longest tail in the world, that's for sure. But it will be just interesting to see how they go. They might, as Hazy suggested, they might go for a genuine keeper. They might go that route. Who would that be then?
Well, that'd be interesting. The man who's been closest to the test squad over the last 2 years, 18 months or so, has been Tami Tsolokile, and he's been in good form for the Lions as well. We've seen AB de Villiers take some stunning catches today, so whether they feel they need a specialist wicketkeeper or another specialist wicketkeeper to come into the squad, again, the selectors, I suppose we'll know in the next few days or so. But if they do go for Tsolokile, he's been in good form, batting-wise and keeping-wise as well, so he certainly won't let the team down.
Okay, well, Pommy, that's just a little bit of what we feel might have to happen with the South African team. What I'm interested, maybe you can ask Mikey, is what are the West Indies going to do with theirs?
Okay, yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, interesting thoughts those are, and we will kind of try and do it's a truncated selection committee. This with just 3 men without our captains on either side. Or coaches, as it were, but we'll have a go at that and speak about the South African side, considering those views from H.D. Ackman downstairs and also from Sean Pollock, who's downstairs talking about all-rounders flying in and so forth. First, though, let's take a break so we can just have a little bit of thought about it, then bring it to you. Welcome back to the wrap of the first test match between South Africa and the West Indies. Done and dusted at Supersport Park, and it is South Africa who are dominant. We're looking ahead though, and looking very much at what can be done to the two teams. Not so much what can, but some of it is what must be done. And let's start West Indies. Mikey, we heard Sean Pollock talking about all-rounders, flying this one, flying that one. That's all speculation. However, there's the case of making sure a bowler comes in because Kemar Roach is injured.
Yeah, they need another bowler to come in, but what Sean Pollock was suggesting is not a bad idea. I'm not too sure, though, that one of the names that he mentioned you'll see being called and being flown in, that's Dwayne Bravo. Because I get the impression that after what happened in India, that the selectors and the West Indies Cricket Board aren't very happy with Dwayne Bravo. And you might not even see him captain in the one-day squad, which in my opinion would be absolute rubbish. But that's the way we behave in the Caribbean. But Dwayne Bravo coming into this team would certainly help. We know Dwayne Bravo can bat, we know he can bowl, we know he's a fantastic fielder. And for many years I've been saying that Dwayne Bravo should be allowed to play a lot more test match cricket than he has been allowed to play. And he would bolster this team. As for just bringing in another bowler, you have some bowlers here. Shannon Gabriel is here, we have Jason Holder, but they are very inexperienced bowlers. If you bring in more and more inexperienced cricketers, that's not going to really strengthen your team a great deal. So it would be a good idea to bring Dwayne Bravo in. He's been around a long time. If Jerome Taylor hits back his stride, starts bowling well again, that will help the West Indies team as well. And himself and Dwayne Bravo could help in getting some wickets. But as I said, it's unlikely.
Okay, well, that's the West Indies side of things, and we're looking at Holder and Shannon Gabriel. Those are the two men that you name. In the batting side of things, would they look to change it, having gone so badly in this test match, or do they stick with what they have?
But change it to what, Pommy? That is the problem. There's no one sitting on the outside that they can say, okay, he should have played instead of this particular person. They have got to just hope that these guys that they have selected can come good. The guys that they have selected is not that they are not good cricketers. They have shown in the past that they can get runs, although they haven't got lots of runs. Leon Johnson, for instance, he showed that he can bat. But his problem is spending a long time at the crease, getting runs. He has done it at the lower level, first class level, but still not getting enough centuries at that level. I think Ian Bishop made that point. He has lots of half centuries, but not enough centuries. He has to now step up. He's not batting at 7 and 8. He's batting in the higher order of the West Indies team. He has to step up. Chandra Paul and Marlon Sam, we know what they are capable of. In this test match, they didn't do as well as you'd have liked, but you can't think about shifting them around or dropping them or anything like that. The opening batsmen got a good start in the first innings. So you can't all of a sudden now say, well, they aren't good enough. They have to just make sure that these guys go out there and get the job done. They have to have faith in them. If they weren't good enough to be there in the first place, they wouldn't have been selected. So you have got to have faith in them and hope that they get the runs on the board. Chris Gayle isn't here, Darren Bravo isn't here, two of our better batsmen. We have to live with it.
Okay, on to the South African side. And before we start talking about them, I'd like us to hear from Themba Bavuma. He was involved in this test match. I remember you, Mikey, saying that it's a good idea, and you're talking about tours of old where teams, and Kepler, you'd relate to this as well, teams would go on a tour and there'd be games that you'd play with the bigger players, with the more established players. Even though there were warm-up games and tour matches, you'd be able to sort of feel what it is you need to do in that environment and relate to the big guys. Let's hear what he had to say after the test match. Took a couple of good catches.
Themba, first of all, congratulations on being selected in the squad. Gee, that must have been a big thrill for you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Hazy, first of all. And yeah, it was a great feeling for me. You know, it came as a surprise, but yeah, I was very much ecstatic.
And I guess you arrived here thinking, okay, I'm going to help the boys and they're going to win this test match, hopefully, and I'm going to do my part behind the scenes. But no, you're involved in the field very early. Tell us what happened and how you found out.
Yeah, I was obviously down as 12th man, and then the second innings, we got a couple of injuries, you know, and illnesses, you know, and I was called to help around in the field. You know, it was quite fun out there, and I just tried to contribute as much as I can towards the team.
Must have been a nice thrill to be in the clothes and running around with the superstars that they've got, the South African side, and obviously you're part of that squad. But what about that catch? That was brilliant. Talk me through it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was actually on the back foot there, and luckily the ball, you know, landed quite close to me. You know, I just tried to stretch out my arm, and luckily the ball landed in my hand.
It was a good grab. But finally, the intensity of Test match cricket. It's the first time you've been involved in a Test match arena. How does it compare from what you're used to at the first class level versus the Test arena?
Yeah, there is quite a difference. I mean, the first time I noticed this was my first training with the guys. You know, I came to realize that the intensity is quite high. You know, just the way the guys prepare, which is, you know, it's quite meticulous and quite specific. But yeah, you know, it's a challenge I'm looking forward to. You know, and I hope, you know, things can go well.
Okay, Temba, thanks for your time. Good luck for the rest of the series, and keep catching those balls, and with a bit of luck you'll get some runs as well.
Thanks, Easy.
Yeah, and it might well be runs in Port Elizabeth that he needs to get. I say that, it's pure speculation. You've heard the view of the other guys who are downstairs. H.D. Ackerman was on about perhaps keep the four-seamers, play the spinner as well, with de Villiers staying with the gloves. Ashwell Prince was kind of saying, well, you need to have a look at Bavuma as you look at the squad. He's the spare batsman in there, but you never know. They might want to go with that four-seamer still and the spinner. Kepler Wessels is here to now give your opinion, Kepler, on what you think and which way they might go, and perhaps which way you would go in picking a team for Port Elizabeth.
If you have a normal Port Elizabeth surface, you definitely have to play Robin Peterson, you'd have to play a spinner. Then there'll be no need for your fourth seamer, because Robin Peterson, if you don't bowl West Indies out quickly, will bowl a lot of overs from one end. You can rotate your quicker bowlers from the other end. Wind will also come into it, so that'll bring him further into the equation. And for me, Bavuma will come into the side to replace Quinton de Kock in this match. The decision was to go with 4 bowlers because conditions was allowed that, and I think that there won't be a change in Port Elizabeth, or there shouldn't be. I mean, if you got 4 seamers and you got Robin Peterson, the one seamer is not going to bowl. I mean, he's going to bowl very little, really. And so it's also a good opportunity to bring Bavuma into the side after you're 1-0 up. We've already seen Steven van Zyl come in, get 100. That's a huge thing for South Africa, because it's another player who's announced himself on the international stage. So if you get Bavuma in as well, and he does the same, then suddenly you're increasing the depth of the South African batting setup by a lot. And you also, I suppose, keep the structure which they have gone towards. Yeah. That issue of your keeper actually being a batsman. And when I say that, Quinton de Kock is considered a batsman, and A.B. de Villiers keeps the gloves, he is considered a batsman, and you have 7 of them. Oh, definitely. I think that's been a formula that's worked for South Africa incredibly well since A.B. de Villiers first took over the gloves. That suddenly lengthened that batting lineup, and now you've got Quinton de Kock doing the same thing. So there's no real need to change that formula, because that formula has been so successful. Okay, we'll get. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not a great historian of the game. For me, I don't know a lot about cricket from the 40s and 50s and 60s and that sort of thing. But from what I've seen of modern day cricket, and when I'm talking about modern day, I'm trying to put myself in modern day.
Yes, you are modern day as well.
From the 70s through. Great teams don't need more than 4 bowlers.
Right. Fair enough.
When you have 5 bowlers in a team, what you're saying is you only expect each bowler to take 2 wickets in an innings.
Okay, fair point, and point well made as well. I think just backing up what you're saying, Kepler. What does the coach think? I wonder if Hazy asked him about a team for the next game. Here he is catching up.
Russell, you guys seem to have forgotten about the fact that there were times in the past where you started a series sluggishly.
Yeah, look, I think we've addressed it in past series, and we probably don't even talk that much about it anymore. We just the less you seem to talk about things, the quicker they seem to disappear. So it went well for us this start of this Test series.
What was the main thing that you were talking to the players about before this Test got underway?
I think, look, complacency can be an issue, I suppose. If you read a lot of the media and what's being said, a lot's been spoken up about how we should be winning this series, and that can be very dangerous. You've got to respect the opposition. They've got some match winners there, and we haven't played for 6 months. So I think really making sure we respect the game and sticking to our basic disciplines and doing the things that we really do well, very well.
You lose a key player in JP, you find a debutant who comes in and scores 100.
No, look, I think we're blessed in South Africa. We've got really good depth. I thought Stian played really well. Good time to make a debut though, a decent wicket day after the first day, and then after a good partnership between Ash and AB. So he played really well, and he's been a good player in domestic cricket for a couple of years now, and it's carried that form forward, yeah.
What's the most pleasing thing about this Test match for you?
Look, I think just getting some overs under our bowler's belt was really important. Big difference between playing one-day cricket and then having to spend 120 or 130 overs in the field, and getting that time in the legs will only benefit us going into the next couple of Test matches. And then obviously the partnership between AB and Hash, I think a lot of the young players in that change, the guys like Stian and Temba, would have learned a lot watching that particular partnership. They're two of the best players in the world, and the way they went about their business was a great lesson for some of the younger players.
Did the West Indies surprise you in their lack of fight?
Look, Centurion Park's a tough place to come and play. If the wicket offers a little bit of something, batting size can be under pressure, particularly when you've got Morkel, Steyn and Philander coming at you. We know they'll be better in the second test, and maybe haven't had as much game time in South Africa, and they'll probably get better in the next couple of test matches.
And finally, what sort of track can we look forward to in Port Elizabeth? Any ideas?
Look, just a good wicket. I think South African wickets tend to have a little bit of pace and bounce, and hopefully we can have that in St George's Park, which historically hasn't been the case. It's always tend to favour the spinners. But we just need a good cricket wicket. Irrespective of where we're playing in South Africa, we should be backing our skills to try and come out on top. So just a good cricket wicket as far as I'm concerned.
Congrats, coach. Well done.
Thanks very much.
That is the second test match. South Africa taking on the West Indies once again. It'll be live from Port Elizabeth, and it's on Friday, the 26th of December. Boxing Day will be on air at 9:30 in the morning. We hope that you will join us for that. As far as this first test match is concerned, let's find out which one was the Ram delivery of the day as it ended.
The Ram delivery of the day. Proudly delivered to you by Ram Hand-to-Hand Couriers.
Brilliant! What a masterful piece of acrobatics behind the stumps from AB de Villiers. Absolutely worth the price of admission.
The Ram delivery of the day. Proudly delivered to you by Ram Hand-to-Hand Couriers.
I wonder if it was the delivery or the catch that they were admiring as they chose it downstairs in the van. Kepler is an able replacement, and he started up behind, as you say. I'm talking AB de Villiers there.
Well, he kept beautifully. I mean, we saw him before he got his back injury again. I mean, he was keeping really well. I mean, those test matches, he was taking catches, he was batting well, and he was in superb form with the gloves. And today, he just carried on from where he left off.
Okay, well, that's perhaps what will happen. He didn't ask him, Hazy, about whether he's going to change his team. He wants to change his team and so forth, so never mind. Keep your tweets coming in. We will, not over Christmas, look over them, but as we get to that test match on the 26th, we'll make sure we try and respond and so forth. Merry Christmas. Have a good one in South Africa. Same to you, Kepler.
Thanks,
and to all of you as well. We'll catch you in Port Elizabeth.
Got him. Brilliant from Steyn. He did it a couple of times past the outside edge.
Is it gone? Is it gone? Is it gone? Finger goes up belatedly. Brilliant. What a masterful piece of acrobatics behind the stumps.
There's another one. Amla has taken that one. There's a 5-wicket haul. 25th 5-wicket haul for Dale Steyn.
Game, set and match. Sheldon Cottrell goes and Dale Steyn finishes with a 6-wicket haul.